Be strong.
So now I'm joined by Kyra, by Helena, by Heather, and by Haim, and we're going to break down our thoughts on the trailer that we've just seen and just deep dive into it a little bit more and share our thoughts and feelings. So to start with, we are having a look at the trailer. We start with this scene of Egwene and Nynaeve, and Nynaeve literally yeeting Egwene off the cliff. What do we think is happening here?
Teaching her how to swim or something like that. I just remember, like, as a kid, like, you're gonna learn how to swim, whether, you know, sink or swim, and here you go. But I don't necessarily think that's exactly what's happening. It was just my first reaction.
While I was watching it, I was sure that it's reality. But when she emerged with the colors on her face, then I started thinking, okay, maybe she didn't really push her. Maybe this is something in her head.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what my thought. That's what my thought is. I think it's linked to her learning how to jump, and she thinks that it's Nynaeve instead of Moraine that pushes her into the river side up.
Okay, that's interesting.
That's a good theory. Yeah, I was confused at first, but when she emerges from the water with the colors on her, I had some thoughts that maybe it was part of her testing for accepted in the White Tower, or possibly, you know, in her head, a dream, and not necessarily reality. But my first thought was confusion, because it was like, why would she push her unless they were running from something and they needed to get away quickly?
Well, a lot of people thought that this was some sort of initiation for Women's Circle or becoming a wisdom, as Egwene does plan to be in the early books. You know, when we first meet her, she has just got her braid. So she's clearly just been through something that says that she was allowed to have it. So a lot of people thought that it was that, but we're thinking that maybe it's either a dream sequence of her touching Sadar or some sort of accepted test, maybe.
Yeah.
It could also be, as I'm thinking on it and you guys are talking, she is a dreamer. It could be a dream sequence of her own, just kind of going into it, you know, it could be a foretelling.
A foretelling, yeah.
Yeah, because
Definitely.
the colors are very interesting choices of colors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There has to be a reason for the colors. It can't just be there. And because they are there, it means it's not about being a wisdom. So that kind of confuses me. Unless it's both. Unless it's she plunges her into the river and she's swimming, and then there's the scene where she's learning to let go and learning to embrace, and then the colors scene is a third thing altogether, and maybe somewhere in the White Tower or representing the White Tower.
I mean, the way the colors stuck to her, like it's a in real life process. It's called water transfer printing. You may have seen tire decals being printed on in that method. So when she gets up and all the paints, you know, it's stuck on her body, I don't think that's a sequence that's connected to reality. It has to be a dream. I mean, you wouldn't find such pigments in a river natural. In my opinion, it has to be a dream sequence.
So the White Tower is engraven upon her bones, as it were.
Yes.
And it's been imprinted right there and then. Okay. Well, speaking of the White Tower, you know, we also got our first look at Tar Valon. And I have to be totally honest, I was not expecting to get such a look at Tar Valon as what we have received. So let's talk a little bit about, we have this incredible landscape shot that kind of, you can see Dragon Mount in the background. What were your thoughts on seeing that?
Am I going to be the one to say?
You are.
Please go ahead.
No, I'm not saying it. I love the landscape. I love that we saw the city. I looked for the bridges. I expected the bridges to be a bit more fancy and a bit more intricate, and the tower should dominate. And the tower is just sort of a hill, and that's a bit not really the best image that I had in mind, but I'm not going to say it looks like 3 potatoes. No, I'm not going to say it looks
It was
I heard in the
squatter.
car that it was potato penis.
Yes.
That's what I heard in the car.
I'm really trying
Yeah, that's
not
what I
to
thought I
say
heard in the
that
car.
it looks like a potato penis.
It's a merging between a potato and Jeff Bezos' rocket that he goes up to space. Well, that's negative.
I mean,
Negative reaction.
that was a choice. Because to me, it kind of looks like as if the tower's incomplete, like as if the top part's missing. It's like it finishes too soon.
But come on, men break the world, and we are women who protect humanity. And where do we live? In a potato penis. Solid, sturdy one, not really too long, but like 30. I mean, come on.
Yeah, I thought it would be more feminine, a little bit more svelte, and feminine.
You know, I was imagining
Yeah.
a white skyscraper that is completely feminine and dominating, and it's a potato penis house.
And it's pretty squat. It's kind of masculine.
All the jokes and all the puns aside, I mean, what I really thought, like, the mental image I had, the White Tower would be like instantly. It would look like it was made with one tower. In the trailer, it looked more like, influenced by the Byzantine architecture, which goes very well with the lead settings we got a few days back, like the Northern African, Moroccan, like the Islamic architectural stuff. It goes very well with the Byzantine architecture, the Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque kind of vibe. That's what I saw in the White Tower.
I thought it looked like the palace in Kandor, because the palace in Kandor was described with domes and round roofs, and it's something I would have imagined in Kandor. And for the White Tower, it was, explain how it awes you. It looks like a part of the city, like it's growing out of the city, and it's too somehow homogenic with everything else. And for the tower, I don't know, it's an island, and then this white thing on the island, and then it's not. So I will like it, but
that's a very interesting thing you said, though, that the tower looks like it's growing out of the city, because it's supposed to be made by the Ogier, and maybe that's how they plan to show, like, how something is different if it's Ogier made, in that it looks like a part of
That makes sense.
as if nature had grown it itself. So that's, I mean, I kind of didn't put that together until you said that, but I thought that actually could make a lot of sense with the way they've gone. I mean, I could even, if we didn't have that big dragon mount in the background, you could have argued that maybe it was Kandor, maybe we were looking at some New Spring flashbacks, which I know a lot of us were expecting to see. But because it's got that in the background, I'm like, I think it's pretty cemented that it's definitely
Gargallen.
yeah. So speaking of that, let's move into talking about the Aes Sedai, because we saw a lot of Aes Sedai. Let's talk a little bit about, what are your impressions? I mean, they are very color coded. What were your thoughts? What particularly stood out to you?
I think the separation of the different Ajas is what, like you said, they were definitely very color coded. So I need to watch it way more times than I have. that I got to do while I was sitting in my office at work today. The scene where you're in the White Tower and you see Swan sitting there, and I was like tears, sitting at my desk. My coworker was like, "Are you okay?" I'm like, "Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just watching a trailer." But that was the moment for me where I was like, "Holy shit! Like this is actually happening." And so just to see them separated like that, and to see them in their colors, and just the regality and the formality of it all hit quite hard. I think that was something that they really did a great job with showing.
The red struck me as less haughty. Like in the book, I saw them as very, haughty and above it all and kind of stuck up, and more fierce, more like warriors, than the impression I got in the books. From the shots that we see of them, they just seem really, really fierce, like warriors, not so much, sunny above it all. And that was interesting. I expect to see that more on the green side, where even though they kind of had the battle scene with the greens, I didn't get that fierceness from them.
Actually, saying that, one of the things that really stood out to me was there was definitely, when you looked at the Red sisters, they looked quite frightening. Like, it makes you think that maybe they are going down that route of, while the green may be the warriors, they're the nice ones, and the red ones are the ones that are not so.
Exactly.
Yes, on camera.
Yeah. Exactly.
That is actually my point. I didn't expect to like the Reds so much, and I was so happy to see them. I wasn't expecting to be happier to see the Reds than the Greens. When the Greens showed up, I was like, okay, business as usual, but the Reds just popped out, and it was like, yes, this is it. This is the mean Aes Sedai, the bad Aes Sedai. It's great.
Before I delve into my own thoughts, I have to say they did Grey Aja dirty. If you look at their garbs, you will see that they are mismatched. Grey Aja dresses are not. Some have a lighter top, a darker skirt, but on my thought, like you saw in the trailer, the Red Aja and the Green Aja in the hall are set directly opposite to the Amerlin, and later in the story, we will see that the green and the reds are working together. Now they are clearly establishing that the greens and the reds do not go along, and later they have to work together to capture the guy.
Yeah.
They have to capture the guy that's been wreaking havoc all over Gildan, as we know that there's a big part of Gildan present in season 1.
Yeah.
So it was very nice to see that they established that the Reds and the Greens, they are enemies. They are not friends. Even though they are all isolates, they are not friends at all.
Mm-hmm. You said about they're going to have to work together to overcome what we assume is going to be the villain of the season, and that is Loghain. There is this big scene, and this kind of really stood out to me, of you can quite clearly see there's a few different colored Aes Sedai in the middle. We can see Lan and Nynaeve and Moraine on the outskirts, and it's a pile of dead bodies. Something pretty significant has happened in this particular scene, and we know it's not before, we know it's during the journey, because we can see Nynaeve there, and that kind of clues us in that this is something that we see on screen. What happened here?
Well, we are making the assumption that he was captured in Gildan, which he maybe is not.
Yep.
Because we see Lan fighting men that appear to have something like Turkish costume, and something, that it's not really defined where it belongs, but it's not the north. So maybe they just run into Loghain's army. Maybe there isn't a battle that goes on while they are in Two Rivers, parallel to the winter night. It just happens later. They are running, they are all together, and then Logain is captured.
I want my big battle. I want my big battle at the start of the show. Okay.
There's the battle. There's the battle. There is Lan at the battle. We saw that. That's definitely there. It's just a matter of when. When is it?
My own thought comes as this. He is captured in Kyoto. He's being transported to Tarvalon. And the Two Rivers people, they encounter that possession. And exactly at that moment, Logain's people ambushes the whole group, and a big skirmish happens. That's when he kills all these people, him and his people.
Is that what we think? Do we think that Logain's going to be the villain of this season, and then we find out later that maybe he's not?
One thing that is very absent to me is Forsaken.
Yeah.
I always think of like the villains of Eye of the World.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of Ishii, we have Agenor and Baphomet at the end, and they seem to be notably absent.
Rafe Judkins did say in one of his Q&As, though, that somebody asked him if the Forsaken would be in season 1, and he said that depends on how much you know about the Forsaken.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
to me,
they have
that
to
kind of
say-
says they're there, they're just not blatantly there. So
Right.
we might know that they're there because if we, being the community that knows the storyline, we might be able to be like, that right there, that's Lanfear. But it's not going to be like
Obvious.
said that that's who it is. That's my thought.
They have to save some kind of big bad for the next stage.
Sure.
They can't just dump everything in the first season, so it makes sense not to show them.
Well, I think one of the things that Him was saying, one of the things I noticed, I think he was saying is that there does seem to be a sudden rush, maybe of Logain's men trying to free Logain, and that is where all this carnage happens. Because if a shield is up against Logain and then it's suddenly broken, will he unleash his inner dragon, if you will? But we definitely have this one scene. I know we were kind of like earn a little bit about it. We have this guy holding what appears to be a ring in his hand and looks very grief-stricken. Who do we think that is?
My first thought is Bruce Theron, honestly.
I was thinking it's Peter Frenzen.
Yeah.
I go back and forth between the two. It very well could be Lucerne, but the holding the ring makes me think that it is Peter, because it looks like he's mourning his Aes Sedai and he's got her ring.
The only thing confusing is that he is in white clothes, which makes no sense for a warder. None.
Mourning, though. He could be in
Mourning, yes, the funeral.
Color white for mourning.
No, I think that's a water to an Aes Sedai gets killed by Loki. In the later part of the trailer, we see that he goes really crazy with his exes and he lunges towards Logain, whom you can definitely see him being shielded by Moraine.
I watched it the first time and I thought, is that Luce Theron? But then when I watched it again, I kind of paused on his face. I thought, no, I'm pretty sure that's Peter Franzen, who is Stepin, who is warded to Kareen. And Kareen should not be here, although we know she is, because we saw her in that Entertainment Weekly photograph.
Mm.
And we see her again healing Moraine at one point. So Moraine's obviously taken some kind of injury and she's healing, and we also get this very clear shot of her ring as well. What do you think of the Aes Sedai ring, the way it's been styled? What are your thoughts on it?
Love it, love it, love it, love it.
I need to watch it more times. I think by the time we saw that frame, I was in full tear mode and I didn't really take a whole lot in.
The ring seemed like a very good brass knuckles to me. You know, if you get a hold of the merchandise, you put it on your middle finger and punch somebody, that person's gonna get hurt badly.
Yeah,
That's a big ring. That's a pretty fucking big ring.
very big ring. Yeah, it is. It's like two rings together.
Yeah.
isn't it? And it's hard to tell in this video, but in the Entertainment Weekly one, it did look like Moraine's ring was blue. So it makes me wonder if they are going down the route of having Arjar rings, as well as maybe there's like a two-parter, like, you know, like a like when you get those like Transformer toys and you click them together and they become like a mega thing. Maybe you get like the one part of the band when you're an accepted, and then you get like an Arjar ring.
Yes, yeah.
Together.
That's what I was
Ring in a
thinking.
wedding band.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because you are marrying the White Tower. Technically, you're
True.
you know, giving your life to the White Tower. So yeah,
Unless
symbolism there.
Yeah.
That's what that was my thought on that. I also think it's very clever of Amazon if they are going to do the colors, because Collectible 7, yes, I will have one in every color. Thank you.
I was thinking, if we are really going crazy with colors and with having 2 rings, like accepted and the Aes Sedai, which I don't think is the case, but if we indulge that thought, then it's 1 ring and it's kind of this neutral color until your Arjar settles on you, and then it kind of, like mood rings, just switches to the color where you belong once you have chosen and once the tower has been graven into your bones. So they all have the ring from the start and it looks the same, and then, like getting an ageless face, your ring just turns slightly blue or slightly green or slightly red, and so
My little 90s girl heart just lost it when you said mood rings. I'm like, yes, okay, I'm here for that.
or we're just seeing it wrong and it's just a ring.
Or maybe your ring decides for you. Like a sorting hat, but for Arjas.
And so
Why
they
not?
have their rings and they can pretend they're white Arjar because it's kind of nondescript
Maybe.
or grey.
Maybe. Okay. I don't.
I apologize to the whites, not so much to the greys.
It's a change, that's for sure. But I'm not mad at it. I'm not mad at it. Anything. I mean, I'm here for mood rings. I'm here for mood rings. Okay.
I'm so happy that it's big. I just wanted it to be big because in my head it was big, and I could never, come to peace with all of these fan creations of this wedding band with the snake biting its tail.
It's not just a ring.
It was
Yeah, it's not
clunky
just a
big,
ring.
and when they say Nynaeve would wear it around her neck along with Lan's ring, and it was bulky together. It wouldn't be bulky if it was just like one tiny, pitiful snake.
Yeah.
It has to be huge.
Also, and I think this is probably deliberate by the Amazon marketing team. Do we all not have like an Ouroboros ring that we just literally could buy anywhere on Etsy, any like online jewelry? I mean, I've got like 1 million of them and they cost like a couple of quid. And they are so easy and simple. Now, if something is that easy to replicate, then it's not something that's easy to sell.
How are we going to sell something that's been selling for ages? Yeah, we have to have
something that literally you can buy in bulk from China anywhere and sell 1 million of your own, because you can do that.
So the question that brings up for me then is, so later on, of course, we see Egwene and Elaine and Nynaeve pretend to be Aes Sedai, and they use their accepted rings as proof. So if that's the case that they're going with the show, are they then going to do away with those scenes or revamp them in some way? Because how are they going to pretend that they are full Aes Sedai if they don't have the second ring?
Hear me out. You gave me the most incredible idea. Look, imagine this. These accepted having the mini accepted ring. So when Suwan sends them to a mission, she gives them the Aes Sedai rings. Here are your rings. We can pretend to be an Aes Sedai, or you just use this ring as a permission from the Amaryllis herself to investigate this matters. So it could work. It could very well work. Yes.
I mean, that could work, but at the same time, then that means that she is condoning that action, which is considered highly, highly bad.
Oh, but she does. I
We
mean,
don't have,
that,
we
that's
know what happened.
wow.
We know what happened. We know what awaits her. We know what awaits one, don't we?
Let's talk about Swan for a moment, because I was not expecting to see her in the trailer, and I think for me I was kind of like watching them. I'm like, oh, this looks okay. That's pretty cool. But then when I saw that and I saw the Hall of the Tower, I think it was my moment that I kind of was just like, oh my god, seeing the hall like that. There's something very obvious about Siuan that we see, and that is the stole. The Amaryllis stole looks quite different, and also there's quite a few like tattoos across her chest. What do we think about these decisions by the costuming team?
Fisherman's daughter, tattooed. Why not?
Yeah, I have to say that I was a little bit bummed that she didn't have a stole, and I have to be honest, her chest tattoos kind of looked out of place to me, and it kind of differentiated her from the other Aes Sedais too. It kind of looked off to me, I have to say, but overall, I dig the look. I dig her posture. I dig her authoritative figure. All the studs in her dress. It looked very good. No stole. I can live with that. A sort of crown on her head. I can live with that as well. I mean, she is the queen of Arvalon. It's a country, after all. It's a country. So
she's the queen of the world. Let's be real. She's the queen of the world.
Yeah, pretty much. So I dig the look. It's not canon to the books, but she looks pretty good in her stole. I mean, in her dress, stole. So.
Yeah, I think I said a few minutes ago, like when I was watching it, the moment that I saw Siuan was when it really hit me, like, this is real, this is happening. The tears started just like streaming down my face, and like she owns it. Like, you just see the power and the don't mess with me look just pour off of her, and she just exudes that role, I think, in that moment. So
you know, Heather, I'm gonna interrupt you a little bit. She doesn't have that frightening look in. She has this regal, that power exudes from her. She does not hold that power through her looks. She holds her power through her own. She doesn't have to be frightened. She is frightened. She is.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Like, you don't have to like look at it and see. She doesn't have to be like in your face. She just stands there, and that she is the Amaryllis Sea. And I think that just from what we know of Siuan's character, that's perfect, is what I saw there. Like, she is the fisherman's daughter that is going to just, she's not going to take any crap, and she's going to be like, she's going to give it to you. And, fish guts and all that's going to come out of her mouth. And I think that's the tattoos and everything just give all of that to the whole character. So like you said, you see the fisherman's daughter in those tattoos. So you see that background of where she came from, and that she rose up to that place from nothing. And so she can hold herself up, and she can hold her head high and know that I am the Amaryllis Seat, and I hold this power. And I don't need to shove it in your face. I just am.
Can I, this is, because the tattoo thing, it made me think, is it something from her past of being the fisherman's daughter? Or the other thing that went through my mind was, is it some sort of symbolic status of the Amaryllis Seat to have these tattoos, or some sort of initiation to get to that position? So we are sort of leaning more towards the fact that it's the link to her past, and that shows where she's come from, rather than.
Well, that's an assumption that we're making, isn't it? So, I mean, it could be something else, but yeah.
You think that?
Anything's possible. Anything's possible.
I had a question about this for you. This is not really necessarily to do with the trailer. This was something that was going through my mind yesterday. Do you think that Gitara, who gives the foretelling of the dragon being reborn, has been cut, and that instead maybe the reason we have a young Swan is because maybe the foretelling story is going to be told through her character instead, and that's how she knows the dragon is going to be reborn and helps Moraine off on her on her quest to find him.
That would be a good turn of events now, wouldn't it?
How would you feel? Because adaptations change, and it's very rare that you get someone on screen for just a couple of minutes and then never see or hear from them again. Yes, Gitara is very important to the backstory and the world building in Wheel of Time, but she never actually is in the stories beyond that one moment that she has. It's very difficult to adapt that onto our TVs.
I think a lot of that is going to depend on how many behind the scenes moments we actually get on screen. Because like you said, Gitara is very important to the backstory. She is tied to Tigraine and Luke and the foretelling for the Dragon Reborn. And so she was, the keeper. Yeah. Right. So, she is very important to the backstory. So they could bring her in and hire somebody to be Gitara and just pull those backstories in and just give us the scenes that we heard about and never actually saw. Or like you said, they could adapt it to something else. Now, Community being what it is, I'm sure that if they give Swan the foretelling, we're going to have an uproar from many people because Swan does not have that talent. But adaptations being what they are. And Brandon Sanderson flat out said, you have to think of this show as another turning of the wheel. It's going to keep the same flavor. It's going to keep the story, but it's going to tell it differently. And we have to expect that.
Yeah.
I have to say, I'm a purist. I do not appreciate that much changes in the story, but I can live with that. It makes sense somewhat to give Swan that talent of foretelling the events that happen around Grant's birth. So yeah, I wouldn't mind. I honestly wouldn't.
I think we have a young Swan so that we can tell the story of the White Tower.
Okay.
And that we can see novice life and accepted life and how a woman goes from nothing to ruling the world. And the tattoo is just the tattoos are taboo to the rulers. You don't see many tattooed rulers. So we will have a girl who is fisherman's daughter who is tattooed and strips the taboo of, the past and her being, when have you ever seen a queen in tattoos? You haven't. So now there's an Armelin and this is possible, and we're breaking the visual shit that, is our everyday. And about the foretelling, why is it stupid for it to be her? Because it strips the foretelling of its strength, because she doesn't die. You have a child of 14 or 15 say, he's being born, I can feel him, and then she goes off and has dinner. No, the person has to die from the impact of the prophecy.
Okay.
And that's not going to happen with just some kid in an accepted dress going like, oh, I see him, he's up on the mountain, what's for dinner? No.
Yeah.
Okay. Shut that idea down then, Helena.
It's not happening. It's not.
I agree with you. I can't see them casting a no. Maybe they will. I hope they will. I hope they will. I think what Rafe said about not casting characters who you don't have any time to commit to their story, I think that kind of stuck with me, and it made me think, okay, Lewis Theron is
but that's broad. That's really broad. If he needs a good scene, he will have a good scene with anyone.
Yeah.
And just hire them for that one good scene, and that's it. I mean,
yeah, that's true.
It doesn't mean he sticks to that with every actor.
Okay. All right. Well, there's we've spoken about the Aes Sedai, and we've spoken about the Amaryllis Sea, and we cannot not speak about the One Power. We had quite a good look. We saw healing from Corrine onto Moraine, so we saw healing weaves. We saw very destructive weaves being used on the Trollocs, the lightning coming from the sky. We also saw Alana stop the arrows, creating a shield, a force field around her party. So we got a very good look at how the One Power is going to be. How do you feel about it? Are you happy with the choices that they've made with the One Power? How do you feel about the fact that all the weaves were white?
Overall, it looks good. It makes sense. It works fine. But come on, in the poster, you showed different color weaves. You showed blues, yellows, greens, and stuffs. But in the trailer, we see white. I mean, sure, it makes sense because you have to be something distinctive between Saiga and Saidi. We saw Logan channeling. It was distinct in his face, but not in his channeling. It too was white, if you have noticed. His waves were all the same. They were white. It was a white blast around his cage. The weaves would look a bit different from men to women. It didn't deliver. I am a bit bummed.
Yeah, I agree. I was a little upset that, I mean, I guess just being, the nerd that's been reading this book for 20 years, I'm a little upset that they didn't have the different colors in the weaves. Can I accept that? Yes. I mean, I think I can get over that they're all the same color to watch the show. But it is just a little nitpicky thing that they didn't have that. I also am curious as whether or not they will try to do those different points of views. Is everybody able to see these weaves, or is this just something that a channeler can see? And I don't know. Again, I need to watch it more, but I don't know that was really shown in this trailer, though.
I'm not sure that it's going to stay all white. Just because we saw it being white now, we saw the fight. We basically saw the fight. And so maybe it's just these weaves that are white, and there will be some color when you make some explosions or when you do healing, or I don't remember if healing had some other color, but
it did.
It doesn't have.
That was white too.
Yeah.
I'm not sure it's going to stay all white. I mean, especially when it comes to taint, they will have to have some dark element to Saidin, and they will have to do it visually, not just tell us. What I liked about the weaves, what was unexpected and a bit brilliant, and I'm not sure if it's just my imagination or if it's really there, the way when they're fighting, how the weaves follow Lan's movements and Lan follows her weaves, and it sort of it shows the enhancement that the water gets. You can see that those two are fighting connected, because her weaves are going and he's rolling just in time with her weaves, punching, hitting, throwing. It's literally choreographed to what she's doing, as if that's the bond, as if that's the connection. That's what makes him a bit better than the other fighter.
Definitely, I'd agree there. I mean, whenever her weaves ended, that's when
His
jumped up
movement
and
begins.
yeah, and he struck the Trolloc there.
I was a bit like I liked how it looked, but yeah, I was a bit like, why is everything just white? And again, I think maybe we need to see more of Logain, because what we got was very brief. It was very, very brief. It was a lot of his parts were blink and you miss it. Maybe there are some other elements to Sidene, and I hope there is. But then at the same time, I and this is something that I've questioned a lot in today's modern world, where we are arguing that the genders are not binary. Is there room for a TV show that's saying that there's a power and it's binary? Does that affect how the show potentially showcases the magic of this world?
Well, it has to be binary, because if it's not, what are we going to do about the breaking? And then we don't have the canon to set the world on. So there's not really much choice about that, unless you're going to change the entire premise of how it all started.
I mean, there's got to be some way of working the taint on Sidene in there. Whether they decide, I mean, if you're going to say that one half of the power is tainted, then they have to have some sort of rule as to how those powers are divided out. So, I mean, yes, I know where the political things are and the social rules are at right now in our society, but we've got to be able to find some way of saying, these are the people who can use Sidar safely, and these are the people who can use Sidene, and it's not safe for them to do so. And they got to find a way to be able to do that in a way that's not going to piss off a bunch of people. So that's definitely a job that I do not want. So I'm glad I'm not a part of that team. So I'm not sure how they're going to exactly work that in. I know later on in the series, a lot of people look at Balthamal's character, Halima's character. Yeah. You know, a lot of people look at her as a transgender character. She's female that can use Sidene. And so maybe they'll incorporate some more of that into the show and just say, if you identify as this specific gender, then you can use that. But I don't, that's just a thought. I don't know.
It's difficult. I mean, it's something that I've wondered a lot, because the last thing you want to do is offend a lot of people with a show, because that's, I mean, that is the themes of the story, and that is the main core of it. You can't really make this story without recognizing that main core of the story. It's definitely not a position I'd want to have to be in to try and figure out how to make it work, but I do hope that they found a nice balance. There's moving on, just to sort of round up this trailer, one of the last things we really got a good look at, kind of, was the Shadow Spawn. We got to see, we got a very good look at the Murdrel, or what we assume is a Murdrel. I mean, I don't think it's supposed to be a Drakkar at all. I think it is supposed to be a Murdrel. And we got something of a look at Trollocs. Not quite, but something. You said some things about you were a bit disappointed that you didn't get to see the Trollocs in all their glory.
Yeah. I mean, I saw the horns. I saw a bone mask wielding someone. I thought that it was a scene related to Logain. I zoomed in on my screenshot and I saw Trollocs behind them. In all the scenes, we saw these goat-legged people with their horns and everything, but we didn't see their faces. So what I think is that there's the next trailer coming out. We will see how deep talking, thinking Trolloc, the superstar Trolloc. So we're gonna see how he's gonna talk, and we will hear him actually delivering his dialogues in the next trailer.
Heather, what did you think of the Murdrel? Because that was a very clear shot that we got. And
oh my gosh, that was amazing. I thought they did a great job with the fade. and yeah, I mean, I think with the Trollocs, you kind of get this, what is that? It's behind there. It's kind of fuzzy. Like, oh, what is that? And then you get the fade and you're like, holy crap, what is that? So I think they did a really good job with both of them, honestly, because it kind of leaves a little bit to the imagination, both for people who are watching this for the first time and just getting interested in the show, and for us, like, okay, what really is, I know it's a Trolloc, but I want more. I don't know what that's really showing me yet. And then throwing the fade, the Myrddraal in your face in that way was, I'll say I was watching this at work, and a couple of my coworkers came over and I was like, come here, let me show you. And they were watching it, and both of them took a step back and were like, well, that's scary. So, and that's, yeah, so I think it was just amazing.
Helena, do you think that them hiding the Trollocs is deliberate? Is it something to make us want to watch the next trailer, or is it something that they're going to just save for the show?
I think, and this may sound harsh, but I think they don't matter enough for me to make it into the trailer big time, because they're just canon fodder very, very quickly. And my main concern was, will they manage to remove the Trollocs and the Fates from Orcs and Nazgul look? And the Fate thing was very well done, but you have to say that it wasn't really a hard job, because there is literally the exact same fan art already made.
Yeah.
So there is this Fate, which we have seen many times put on screen, which I'm very happy about, because it means they pay attention and they respect the art that was created before and take inspiration from what people have made. But they had the fate handed to them, and I'm happy that the Trollocs seem to not resemble the Orcs, which is paramount. But I'm not, I don't care. We'll see Trollocs, we'll see plenty of them. There will be all the time, all over. And
Yeah, I'm very interested to see, like, they would have half human face and half animal faces. How are they gonna do that? I'm very interested to see whether they would do such thing like that. So I'm really pretty excited to see Trollocs.
Yeah, they say that it's a large part of it they've relied on prosthetics rather than CGI, which is pretty cool. I think personally, I don't think we're going to see Trollocs clearly until the TV show. I think it's kind of like that horror movie thing. If you show it straight away, it kind of loses the suspense and like the fear. If it's kind of just like in the background, I don't quite know what it is, it adds a more frightening element, and I want to know what it is. So I think that's something that maybe they are saving. Let's talk about the next trailer, because they were very, very clear to say this is a teaser trailer. Although I've never seen a teaser trailer that's like 2 minutes and 20 seconds. It was a big teaser. What do you think, if we're looking at this trailer and seeing what we've seen, what was in this trailer that was missing that we probably won't see until the next trailer?
I just said a young swan. We've talked about her and about how they did cast her, but she wasn't in there at all. So I wonder if they'll give a little bit of that.
Yeah.
Like you said, we only got some like blink and you'll miss it pieces of Logain. So I wonder if they'll bring in some more of his parts on there as well. And I didn't see Loyal.
No.
I don't know if I missed it, if I was like blurry.
I want Logain. Destroying more stuff.
Well, the one thing that I thought was really missing, noticeably missing, is there's no mention of the dragon in this trailer. The story is about the dragon reborn, and yet I can only really think of like 2 or 3 occasions where we actually saw Rand. We didn't get any dialogue from any of them. there was no mention of, they said the last battle is coming, that we have to prepare, but noticeably they never said the dragon is reborn or we need the dragon to save the world. So do you think that that's deliberate at this stage? Like, why was the dragon left out?
Yes, definitely it's deliberate, because we don't even know who do we need saving from. We don't even have the bad guys, we just have the monsters. And you know that behind the monsters there is the true evil and there is the true enemy, which we have no idea what it is or what that last battle is or what we need against it, because obviously we have this bunch of super powerful women, and what else do we need? Nothing. So the next step would be the dragon and the men and the dangers. Now let's see what's it about.
Yeah.
So the next one has to show some clear threat. Otherwise it's just, oh, it's going to be a show with monsters.
Well, other than like what you just said, I think that they do need to mention the dragon. I think a little bit of the backstory needs to be brought in. Who, you know, what if you're going to mention that it's the dragon reborn, then I think they need to talk about who is the dragon. You know, whether that'll be brought into a trailer or not, but that's something that would need to be addressed.
You know, when you look at every other fantasy, the big bad has to show up. You know, the eye of Sauron has to turn. The winter has to come. Something has to, you know, it's the scary guy with teeth is not it.
Right. And if you look at the first couple of books, that's Baalzamon. That's, you know, that's Ishi.
Yeah.
So I think that's, we need to have, Ishi needs to be in there somewhere, because I know we had talked about Logain being the big bad guy for the first season, but Padan Fain wasn't in there at all that I saw either. And we know Padan Fain is in there. I remember one of the questions Rafe Judkins had said was, when you get that first scene of Padan Fain on his wagon driving into Two Rivers, like that was a huge moment for him. So that's got to be in there somewhere. They showed the monsters this time. Are they going to show the human monsters?
Yeah. I think one of the comments I heard about the trailer was it's quite colorful, and they were expecting it to be darker and grittier. So do you think that the color palette is deliberate in that we're looking at the female utopia that's been created? We've got glimpses of Tar Valon, we've got these magical Aes Sedai who run the world, and we've got this one power that we can use, and it's all fabulous. And yes, there's a little bit of a last battle over there, but mainly what we're talking about here is the women. And then the second trailer, maybe they strip back some of that color and we see the grittier Sadine male-centric view of things, and that, because it does seem to me, and this is just what I took from the trailer, that because it was so female-centric, that maybe because the females have been in charge for such a long time, that the males in general will be portrayed as the more villainous. The next trailer could be more focused on the male and the villain, as it were.
I think it will be definitely focused on the male side, but about the color, I think about the color is not at all the consequence of the dynamics within our world and our world building. I think the colorful thing comes from wanting to separate the visuals from the other shows, because when you remember Hobbit, Lord of the Rings, when you remember Game of Thrones and Vikings have this cold grey hue. Game of Thrones has this golden overtone, and they wanted to step away from that. Obviously, I'm thinking it's purely designer photography choice to go with bold colors for fantasy. Hobbit has this light, dreamy fog. It has to be different. It has to be different than Lord of the Rings. It has to be different than all epic fantasy we're used to, and that's why it has to have a pop of color.
Yeah.
Which doesn't mean that men will not be dark and black, but that black will be pure black, not the Nordic noir, half gray, half blue. You know what I mean?
I understand.
What I think is I have to disagree with the too colorful thingy. What I saw, the whole trailer being it may look like colorful because of the costumes, because of the color coded as the dye. If you remove that from the scenes, it seems like a normal scene from any movies, like any fantasy movies, like that. It didn't look too colorful to me, except for the color coded waters, color coded acid eyes, and color coded halls. All those scenes, the colorful scenes, had one thing common: the color pop from the costumes, not from the background, not from the scenes itself. So
Have you seen the Socha River in Slovenia? Let me ask you. Isn't that like the queen of popping color?
Like I said in the beginning, it seemed like a dream sequence to me, and it was pretty on par with the dream sequence. Like it would.
The landscape is so colorful.
I don't think so. I really don't think so.
Okay.
Do you know what I remembered? I just remember when we saw that art about the Tinkers, and we all went crazy how there's not enough color in this. This is such shit. Look at these dragons.
Yeah.
And we never saw the Tinkers at all in the trailer, did we?
Oh, no tinker.
No.
Yeah, that's another thing that was completely missing from there.
How are you generally feeling? Are you after seeing this trailer, are you really excited? Do you feel really nervous? Are there any points in there that cause any real concern for you?
Yes, I'm really, really happy with it, and I wasn't expecting. And you remember yesterday, I had very low expectations about the teaser trailer, not the show. I have very high expectations of the show, but of the teaser trailer, I was thinking we will get 60 seconds of someone's voice and a bit of fear and nothing. So, as you will probably see in my reaction, I was completely overwhelmed that it's all I ever wanted for it to be. I even forgave them for Leandrin, which is obviously Elida, but okay. If you want that, you can have that. But I love it. I just love it. I love every bit of it. From beginning to the end, nothing worries me. And I will nag about the show, about the changes, about this and that. But this I loved, absolutely, from start to finish.
What I saw, it was positive to me. I'm not overly excited. I'm not overly disappointed. I'm happy with it. I look forward to watching the show, and I think it's gonna be a hit. It surely has potential to be a hit.
Okay.
I have been 100% behind this show since 2 years ago when I first found out that they were going to be doing this. I've had high hopes. And every decision that I've seen, from the casting to the budget to set design, since has just backed up that thought in my head. And this trailer was no different. We can sit here and nitpick all day long about the color of the weaves, or how big the ring was, or whatever. But at the end of the day, when you take the whole package together, you can see that the team has really embraced the book series and the heart of the show, and they've really listened to what Sarah Nakamura has suggested. And we don't have bears, we have wolves, and talking about you know, the fan art and what the fades look like, and you can see those little things that the team has brought in to make sure that the fans have been heard, and also worked out how this is still going to appeal to a new audience. And you can see that this has been a really well thought out process, and they have not made any decisions flippantly. Everything has been really, really decided thoroughly and intentionally. And I'm super excited. Like, there are no words. There are no words.
I have to agree. I've had a couple of moments. For the most part, I've been really positive about the show. But there have been a couple of moments where I've gone, oh, I'm not sure about that choice, or, you know, just very little things that probably don't play a big part in the long run. But I think overall, I wasn't expecting a lot from this, especially the way they were downplaying it yesterday. Like, it's just a teaser, it's just a small glimpse. I thought, okay, don't get your hopes up. I was blown away, above and beyond. Nitpicking about the weaves, I do feel it's nitpicking in the grand scheme of everything. So, I mean, for me, it's definitely made me feel very, very confident in this show, and I'm looking forward to the next trailer. Okay, so that's been our trailer breakdown and discussion. We hope you enjoyed our community reaction as well to the trailer, and we hope you enjoyed the trailer. If you would like to become a part of Wheels of the Wheel, just check in the description below, and you can find all our links and our link to our website. And please like and subscribe if you've enjoyed this video. So thanks very much for watching.
Good night.
I'm going.